Podcasters, how the heck are you all doing this evening on a Wisdom Wednesday? I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo. If you aren't familiar, hi, how you doing? Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday on the Indie Pod Daily Show, where we bring in a guest expert. We talk podcasting. We answer your questions based around a topic of expertise that guest expert brings to the Indie Pod Daily table. This week we have Nick Goblirsch. I don't know if I said the name right. I'm looking for a goldfish, as I've been told I could say. Nick G, as he's lovingly known in the icon community. I didn't have my my icon logo up here in the top. So so if you're watching, thank you for taking the time to watch with us tonight. Apparently, Nick G is the best looking podcaster ever. I would tend to agree with that. Let's see. Oh, Joe, now I'm super excited. Oh, that's because that comment is actually from Nick G himself, which is fun. Nick says, thank you, Clay, in the chat. So if you can, I'd love to know where you're watching from and what you're up to tonight, what's going on. And in the meantime, while you're letting me know all that, I got to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Indie Pod University. You can get yourself over 100 plus hours of independent podcasting resources, videos, and more, all by going to indiepoduniversity.com. So if you want to know about SEO for your podcast, if you want to know about monetizing your podcast, if you want to know about recording equipment, did something just fall behind me? Oh, it did. Oh, how about that? Piece of paper did. All those things and more can be found over at indiepoduniversity.com. Also, this episode is brought to you by faithcasters.net. If you're a Christian podcaster or a podcaster who has an audience in the Christian faith, there is a new podcasting platform that is the first podcast hosting and marketing platform designed exclusively by Christian podcasters for Christian podcasters, called faithcasters.net. Faithcasters.net can use your existing podcast hosting solution, or if you need hosting, they got you covered with state-of-the-art hosting options. Use faithcasters.net to market your podcast to Christians all over the world. Go to indiepodcon.com/faith and check it out today. That's indiepodcon.com/faith. I actually need to update that because we're using indiepodcasters.com now. I mean, you can still go to indiepodcon.com. But just indiepodcasters.com sounds so much better. And if you want to sponsor an episode of the Indie Pod podcast, the Indie Pod Daily Show, or a number of episodes that you can sponsor, reach out to me at joe@indiepodcon.com. We'll have a conversation. I am building a media kit, so I'm getting that up and running. Just been a little busy. I got some announcements to make a little bit later on in this episode if you've missed some of the announcements that we've had going on the last couple of days. So go check out Indie Pod University, .com, and check out faithcasters.net. So at this time, I want to bring on our guest this week. It is Super Nick G. Woo!
Hey everyone.
What's going on, Nick? How you doing?
I like it.
Nice shirt, by the way.
I know, man. I had to represent.
Yeah, I'm not representing anything, but I was very dusty because I was building those sound reflection panels or sound treatment panels today. So
cool.
Yeah. So Nick, how the heck have you been, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm pretty excited.
When
awesome.
is the last time you podcasted? Was that your last episode?
My last episode I recorded in the end of April. I think April.
Wow.
And published it, and that was it. It's still out there. It's still out there in the Ethernets, the interwebs. You can still listen to the whole library, the nearly 5-year library. But that was the last time I was actually on a mic doing a podcast. That's
awesome. Well, welcome back to the mic, sir.
Thanks, dude.
I hope it feels good. I hope you feel welcome.
I'm getting right back in the swing, buddy.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm so glad to hear that. So a lot's happened since you've been on the mic last.
There's a lot of craziness happening in the world, man. The world is doing a huge gut check. And there's a lot of things to say that people are saying. on the interwebs and the news and the world.
Absolutely. So this episode, we're going to talk about, driving business faster with your podcasting skills. So for anyone who doesn't know, why don't you introduce yourself? Because we have a ton of new people in the group, in the Facebook group. So that probably have never heard of Nick G, sadly, and now they're going to fix. Now we're going to get that fixed.
So for those of you that know who I am, hello. It's good to see you again. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Nick Goblirsch, but my moniker is Nick G. Back in January 2015, I launched a podcast called the Dependent Independent Podcast, which was simply a attempt to record my voice, share my personal stories, and bring people that either I've never met before or people that I've known that have a story to share around a specific topic and put them on the show. And really, it was a self-serving podcast about building relationships and making friends. Late in my life, I started making these agreements with myself that I would make friends when my kids were in college, but it didn't sit well with me. And I had my best friend at the time, I had one friend I spent some time with, and he and I jumped on the mic and started telling stories. And nearly 5 years later, it started picking up. And I had the opportunity to attend the Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference, which is now known as Independent Podcast Conference, with Joe Pardo. Joe Pardo gave me the opportunity to speak at his conference. I was a corporate HR executive for a long time and spoke about HR-related stuff in front of people. And it was the first time where I could just talk about something I really enjoyed doing, and that was liberating. And then I had another opportunity to speak and another opportunity to speak. And it was life-changing for me inside. But as I was changing on the inside, the world was treating me differently on the outside, which was all good. And I closed out my podcast. It was committed to be a 200-episode podcast. But after telling my story for 5 years, I realized, why do I need to keep looking back and telling a story? Why not tell the story of what's happening now? So in April, much to the chagrin of a lot of my audience, even though I have about 225 shows on the podcast feed, but only 127 episodes, I decided that it was time to step away. And it was funny because Joe, I remember in January when I was about to hit 100, and I was saying to myself, it's going to be such a sad day, such an emotional day when I decide to close my show. And then I realized 3 months in, I was like, you know what? Nah, I think I'm all set. I don't know why I'm holding on to this. And why am I attached to it so much? And I just decided to take my creative juices and apply it somewhere else. So that's where I am. And then, kind of a segue into kind of what Joe and I are going to talk about today is really about how 5 years of podcasting can teach you the skills to basically build a business and make money from that business. How's that, Joe? How's that segue?
That's good. It's good. So yeah, I mean, well, first off, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for speaking so many times, and the world, the people that are getting their houses and stuff and businesses painted by you. Thank you for not doing the corporate thing anymore.
Yeah. So what Joe's
what
Joe's referring to is when in December 2018. I was laid off from a very high-paying corporate HR gig and decided at the time that I wasn't going to go back to that world anymore. And celebrating now, in this month, 1 year ago, I decided to become a professional house painter. And I painted since I was a kid in high school. And my wife farmed me out to paint for people, nurseries, bedrooms, you name it. But I never really asked for anything. I usually would say, feed me lunch and it'll be fine. And because it never felt like work to me, it was always fun and I enjoy it. I have a huge passion for it. And now it's my job.
I absolutely, I love it. I think that is awesome. And you get a,
oh yes.
because obviously you're making money and
I am.
Doing something that you enjoy. And I mean, how can you not? You get to listen to audiobooks and podcasts all day.
Yeah, I was listening to yours, Business Geeks, man.
Thank you, Jen Jen and Sam, I say thank you. I
3 episodes
appreciate
in
it.
on a ladder yesterday. That's what I was listening to.
We had such a great time on that show. It's a lot of fun. We're actually talking about how we want to make it even more entertaining than maybe like
More?
more entertaining than slanted towards education.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do like an 80-20 split where 20% is education and the rest is like entertaining and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to. Oh, you're already out of water. This is not good. We're not starting off good here.
No, luckily this glass was here from earlier. I failed to bring water in here.
Oh man,
I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I never drink anything when I record my show anyway.
We just have a really great time, and I think that it goes to show you it's another example of taking your business and putting, mixing it with the podcast and making a marriage out of it. So let's talk about some of the podcasting skills that you've acquired over the last 5 years and how you've been applying them to your business.
So to go back prior to me starting my podcast, I had some experience engaging people online. Excuse me. Obviously, that was at the time, Facebook was pretty big. I spent a lot of time engaging people on Facebook. And in 2013, I did an experiment when my wife and I moved here to my town of Hamilton, New Jersey, in South Jersey. My wife's been teaching here. Oh, South Jersey. My wife's been teaching here for 20 years. And when I first came to this community, I wanted to do something to kind of make my mark. I didn't really know a lot of people. And again, doing something that I like to do. In college, I played lacrosse. There was no program in town. So I spent about a year and a half looking to build a lacrosse community here, a youth lacrosse program. Did a lot of research, did a lot of heavy lifting. But in the process of doing that, I built a Facebook community online, and I was able to get parents to share pictures and show these proud moments with the kids that were attending the clinics I was running. And it was an attempt and a taste of how to build a community, how to build something from nothing. And being an art major from college, I always think artists are amazing because they basically build something from nothing. Whatever's in their head, they can generate. So when I started the podcast in 2015, one of the things that you would probably say a podcast isn't a podcast if no one hears it is first you got to really realize how to get people to pay attention. So by simply creating some buzz on your own personal Facebook page and then learning how to build a community of people, because usually when someone starts a podcast, if you're new to the podcast realm and you've published your first podcast, people aren't going to pay attention unless you ask them to. I think anyone who feels that they just put a podcast out there and people are going to find it, you're rolling the dice. You're really rolling the dice. I think word of mouth. I even heard Joe Rogan say that earlier today. Listen to a podcast with him, that his podcast grew simply by word of mouth, that you have to start telling people what you can do. So in essence, understanding how to, one, use a social media platform, and two, to show people what you're capable of doing and what you are doing and showing them your work or putting links to your work is exactly the same thing I did with my painting business. When I started, the most amazing thing about painting is it's all visual. So simply by creating a community of people that hate painting, and that's one thing my company's called I Heart Painting, simply based on the fact that a lot of people hate doing it. So I thought, why not build a business on enjoying something that people hate? So hey, what's going on, Lou? So I immediately built a Facebook community, just like I did with my podcast, based on painting. So I built a business page on Facebook for those of you that are familiar with that, and simply started posting anything from just my branding, my logos, all the way up to my work. People get excited to see things from start to finish. It's just simply same thing about podcasting, just like telling a story. The one thing about my podcast was I spent a lot of time, like I said, telling stories and sharing experiences. And not only was I able to know how to, again, promote my own podcast, simply like promoting your own business on a Facebook page, but you got to fill that Facebook page up with content, compelling content. Now, pictures and before and afters are great, and there's a lot of painters out there that already do that, Joe. But I wanted to do something a little different. And one thing about my podcast is, if you talk to anyone, Lou, who just popped in, is my MO is authenticity. You really kind of get what you get. There's no there's no dishonesty in my podcast. When I'm vulnerable on my podcast, you hear it when I'm upset, when I'm sad, when I'm happy, when thing is bothering me. I just feel some of the most compelling people to listen to are people that are honest, just like you, and share their emotions, right? Share their emotions and tell you how they feel. And that's what's great. I think that's great. My house is a really big house of sharing how we feel and how we communicate is essential in how my whole household functions. So what I started doing is while I was podcasting, I actually not only did podcasting, but I also had a little TV studio downstairs. I actually started in this office. I've recently painted the office. Ironically, the desk is on the opposite side of the room. But if you go on my YouTube page, the Dependent Independent Podcast YouTube channel, you can see podcasts that I actually recorded in this room that eventually migrated into a TV studio downstairs in the basement. And I learned how to tell a precise, specific story from start to finish, whether it takes 60 seconds or 2 minutes. And I started posting these videos online for my audience. And when they started, most of them were really about just sharing what I'm excited about. Again, you don't see a lot of contractors, and again, trying to differentiate. Not a lot of people in their 40s decide to publish a podcast and talk about how making friends in their 40s is challenging. I decided, well, why don't I just do videos for my painting business that kind of differentiate myself from most painting businesses. And you don't see a lot of contractors that kind of share how much they enjoyed a job or really what got them excited about working with a customer on picking the colors of their house. Or if, I've done some videos where I'm on the roof and giving my audience a different perspective. So I started publishing videos on top of my before and afters that started getting a lot of attention. Even to a point, I went to the local Sherwin-Williams that I buy all my paint from. And the manager of the store actually said to me, Nick, you're not like our normal painters that walk in here. And I knew that I was winning because obviously differentiating yourself from the world is something that really gets you where you need to be. So the top two is really, one, building a community of people that can kind of go someplace. And two is really putting compelling content on there, just like any podcast. You want to make people aware of who you are. And the other thing is giving them a reason to listen or watch. And those two things were kind of the foundation when I started. The other thing is I spent 5 years building a personal brand. Now, when I see a comment on here where someone says, like, Lou, I'm between two icons or this and that, that's it. I just think it's funny how, and if I can, there you go, Lou. I just think it's so funny that I remember when I attended your first MapCon, Joe, and that. The second one when we hung out at your house.
Yeah.
I'm just this guy, and I looked to the people that I saw there as these like, oh my gosh, these people are, amazing and blah, 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 blah. And then I spent 5 years really just doing what I do and building momentum, and eventually people paid attention. I shared some pretty compelling stories during my presentations at your conference.
Yeah.
To me, they came right from here, and I'm enamored at the reactions I got from people when just by being me, not trying to be anybody else, but being me. And from that point on, I built this personal brand of authenticity, honesty. People can confide in me. I'm there to help. It just kind of happened. It can't. A lot of it happened. I know you'll hear the word personal brand a lot when you hear how to build your podcast empire. And some people think they can do it in a day, which, to be honest with you, that's something that takes a 2 to 3 years to do, because why would anyone want to pay attention to you? What do you provide them? It's really, when you think of brands have a kind of a palpable, tangible thing that you can latch yourself onto and feel and know. And eventually, when people hear Nick G or they hear the Dependent Independent podcast and they're familiar with my podcast, they feel a certain thing. Well, the irony is just simply building a personal brand made it much, much easier to build a personal brand into my painting, because at the end of the day, when people tune into my iHeart Painting business page on Facebook or my Instagram page at iHeart Painting NJ, they actually they see me. I think a lot of people that refer me as a painter, they are excited to refer me as a person versus me as a painter, because at the end of the day, I can refer 15 painters, but there's really only one Nick that you can refer that happens to paint and paint really well and take his work seriously and provide good quality and peace of mind. That's really what I was able to do. So it's funny when you go back, and I remember attending your first MapCon, Joe, and I'm thinking, like, I see these guys are like, I was making money, an hourly wage, but I thought, how cool would it be? Or not an hourly wage. I was on salary. I was the big leagues, but I'm making money. I'm not doing something I'm completely passionate about. It's something I'm good at, but I'm not passionate about. But these people are up there podcasting and they're making money. And in the grand scheme of things, you're thinking like, ooh, how can I make $150,000 a year just talking to people? And the irony is you can't. You can't just do that.
No.
If you're making that money and then you talk to people, if you're already making that money, let's say, and it comes with an enormous amount of fame and an audience that's already built, that's a no-brainer. You get a couple promoters in there. I was listening to Joe Rogan. He's doing a bunch of ads in the beginning. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. But for someone like me who had never done a podcast before with a radio and video background from college, and then you decide to start talking, to go from two people on your Facebook page that listened to your show and thought it was nice to thousands of downloads, that takes time and energy and effort. And I always thought that, I think when we say that you can make money from podcasting, I think it should be, you can make money from podcasting, not make money by podcasting. I think it's such a profound thing to know that you learn an enormous amount of skills, whether it be how to build a community, how to provide quality content, and then third is how to differentiate yourself and share a personal brand rather than just your brand, your painter, rather than I'm a guy, I'm a family man, I'm a creative person, I'm a passionate person that enjoys every day when I wake up. My post, if you watch, I do these posts called Paint for Thoughts, where I share how I'm learning something on the job about life, that I can find a way to connect to painting and vice versa, that just makes painting so much more enjoyable to me. And hopefully I can tap into other people and maybe connect to something that they're doing or they're experiencing in their life. The Paint for Thoughts I do about once a week now, and they've become a thing, and it's great. And people #PFT, people see that. But again, all that, just doing that is all from experience I learned by building my podcast, whether it be tagging something on the end of my podcast until it becomes popular enough that people miss it when you don't do it. Right. I remember someone saying this at your conference about whether it be a sound or just a quick sentence tag in the beginning that people become so familiar with, just like the intro to the show, that people know what they're listening to. Well, when people see a PFT and they share it, they know that this guy Nick, and he can talk about painting a little bit differently than other people. So I think those top three things are, Joe, if I could. Those three things that were huge in building my podcast momentum in the last 5 years, that I was able to just simply take it, repackage it, and slowly move it over. So you can understand, Joe, why if I'm juggling these balls as a podcaster, and then I'm juggling these balls as building this painting community and branding and everything, it just got to a point where, why should I share what I'm feeling or thinking or my life on my podcast when I can simply do it on a business Facebook page and build income from that, and build market share and build popularity and advertising all through that. I mean, it would have taken me 10 years to do what I've been able to do in the past year, all from simply talking on a microphone.
So a couple things. So I look at it in two ways, right? There's money coming in because of my podcast, and money coming in from my podcast. From my podcast, like, I consider that in my book is like sponsorships, selling merch directly off of the show, that kind of stuff, right?
Gotcha.
They're making money from the show, or like charging guests to be on the show, or because like that's from money coming from the show. or licensing deals, right? Like licensing the show out to platforms that are paying you to do it, like in Joe Rogan's case, right? So that's money coming from the show. Because of the show is totally different, right? Because of the show, you're getting painting jobs. Because of the show, I'm getting clients for whether it was at one point for building websites, business coaching, working on their marketing, working on virtual conferences. Like because of the show is a totally different like outside thing, not directly related, but you get these opportunities because you have a show, not from the show itself.
Well, I
does that make sense?
It does.
That's in
I
my
think,
mind. Like not everybody has.
Well,
to
I
see
think,
it
and
that
again,
way.
I don't want to, and to jump on what Joe just said is, I don't want to dispel the fact that someone is actually putting their time into a podcast, looking to figure out ways to monetize it. I know you just did a virtual conference simply on that.
Well, that's coming up soon. We're actually looking for speakers. If you
great, okay, great.
If you wanna speak, we're looking for speakers. Right. We have quite a few spots open still. So go to indiepodcasters.com/vspeaker or just go to indiepodcasters.com/virtual and go sign up. So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. I'm sorry. I spoke prematurely.
No,
I remember seeing the promo for that. I guess when I did my podcast, Joe, I always thought that that's what's so funny is trying to do something like that with my podcast, I don't think would have been, it would have changed what my show was. Like people said that I've been asked that, do we want to get advertisers on and affiliates and things? And I just looked at it, I go, no, but that's not what my show is. That's what's so ironic. Like I wonder if I did attempt to do that, if it would have paid off. I did I could tell you that when I lost my job in 2018, I actually did some coaching. I mean, here's the irony, just on a side, even though I started my painting business in June, from January to June, I was a podcast producer. So I still do that on the side. I actually have 2 clients and I have a side LLC called Independent Productions that I do that. So what it also has evolved to is I like helping people, just like I've done with everything that I've done, build a platform to then share their content. And then I help them become as authentic as they can with their content, very in line with what I did. So I'm working with a client specifically. I may be talking with her later on. She's a woman that's been in the professional coaching business for a very, very long period of time. Kind of missed the boat when it came to understanding all the technology. And I'm just basically reintroducing this individual to things that she, like Facebook, LinkedIn, and all these things. It's really fun that I get to download. I sound like a genius when I'm talking to this person. But the thing that's really important in order for the relationship to be effective is I may help you build your website. I may help you build your branding and your graphics on your Facebook page and your banner and help you come up with what your mission statement is. But I can get you to the 5-yard lane, but you got to give me something. So where I've had clients where they fail is they need to create their own content. They need to come up with ways to express themselves. And what some people get in the trap of is they're waiting for the perfect content. They're always waiting, Joe, for the perfect content, the perfect post, the perfect this. And if I waited for that, I never would have got here. I mean, there's some shows I've done and some posts I've done and some videos I've done. Like I mentioned, if you check my YouTube channel, some of them they're not winners, but I had to do that in order to get to this. And it's even similar with my painting business. I started small and get bigger and bigger. I got 2 visits tomorrow, 2 big houses that people want me to look at. And I'm still one person. Being able to do all this and still building all that momentum. So I was never able to take my podcast and make money out of it, but it was just this way of just boom, springboarding. And I could say on this show, I could make the announcement on your show, Joe, that I may be, and this is to Lou, I may be donning the microphone once again, and launching a new podcast that simply. My entire life, I've always been amazed at when people are excited about what they do, like really tapping into what is that excitement? Why do you do what you do? And why is that fun for you to do? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good opportunity to profile anyone who focuses. And these could be people that are like closeted, passionate people that that want, they have they want to do something, but they're afraid how the world's going to treat them. Like someone wants to collect, porcelain cats, and they're afraid that their, husband or wife is going to freak out if they start spending money on that. And just, I want to be able to share those people's stories, because I think when there's a lot of us out there that want to be able to pursue something, and I'm lucky. I'm extremely lucky. I have an amazing wife that has an amazing job that provides amazing benefits and allowed me to be able to kind of venture off a little bit. It wasn't easy, but being able to venture off and be able to try something and figure something out. But I'm extremely lucky that it all worked out. I went on a lot of spiritual journeys this last year to eliminate any personal boundaries and blocks I had to get through. And I read and I meditate, and I'm a different person now when it comes to a lot of things, this whole growth process. But there are a lot of people out there that make a million excuses about why they can't do what they want to do, especially people my age where they're stuck in a dead-end job or they want to do something. I mean, I couldn't imagine 5 years when I met you, Joe, I'd be like, yeah, dude, I'm going to be a house painter in 5 years. Nope. Not even. But I
didn't see it either, Nick.
No, I thought it was,
right.
No, I thought it was cool. I was like, hey, I'm an HR guy and I podcast and blah, 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 when that's not who I am. But I thought it was. And I'd love to be able to get those people on the show and help them tell their story and maybe have a moment of clarity with them to pursue that and help them be able to get past those obstacles to do something. Because at the end of the day, if you can't wake up and do something you love every day or be around someone you love every day, what is the point? What is the point? What is the point? And whether it be our ego or our insecurities or anything keeping us from doing that or telling us we can't do something, I think I would love to be able to experience that with others to see how they can do it. And if I could use my podcast skills and be able to try to promote another show and create another brand around a show that could do that, why not? Hell, Joe, I got all this equipment in my basement that's been dormant for the last 2 months. I got to do something with it.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. It's always great when you can break out extra equipment that you have just laying around and start using it. I ran the Dreamers podcast, so I'm on board with that idea. It's definitely a great idea.
So that's really a gift I have. But back to your point about the making money and because of podcasting, I think it might go hand in hand, but I think I'm glad you said that because, again, I don't want to deter anyone from I think it's amazing. I never figured it out. I never found a way to monetize my podcast in the sense of
that specific
the generic
show, right? Right, because at that point it's also a numbers game too, right? The more
if
you want to make money from your show, it's a numbers game. You find the right niche, the more you can niche in, and the more people you can drag out of that niche. It's like drilling for oil, right? The more you find the right spot, you don't necessarily need like a ton of oil there, but you got to hit the right spot so that you make up for all the other spots that you missed. Missed on. So point being is that if you have the right amount of people, you have the right audience, and you have a right audience that will take action, then you can make any show turn into that. Look, I mean, Joe Rogan isn't really a great example of that because Joe Rogan was already he was somebody before.
Like I said, he had a well community with the MMA and everything like that. Yeah,
it's hard to, but he had to build that up over years, and I'm not saying it was easy, and not only that, but even as a podcaster, like it's still not an easy task, even with that, because I mean, there's plenty of celebrities that have had shows and have probably pod faded, in the last 3 years since they started. Because I remember in 2016, 2017, there was like a deluge of like everybody's coming out with their celebrities coming out with their podcasts. Radio One's putting every celebrity's getting you're getting a podcast, you're getting a podcast, you're getting a podcast. But are they all there today? I don't know about that. Like,
no. And even if they are, they're that compelling.
I don't know. I mean, I'll admit, I was pretty skeptical when I was like, well, great, now all the big players are going to come out and they're pretty much going to make us pirate radio and push us out of the game. Now, Spotify's still well on track to try and do that, but we'll see. We'll see how that.
Well, they just picked up Joe Rogan. I mean, they just picked Joe up.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they picked up him as it's a licensing deal, right? So he's not having they apparently have very little, if any, creative input into the show. They just
Yeah.
literally is the licensing to distribute his show.
Hmm.
So for him, like that's perfect because that means they can't tell him like, oh, you're gonna interview this person now,
Yes.
or
Right.
every 2 second every other day or every day or every other day you got to come into a meeting, sit down and talk about like, all right, who are we going to talk about, who's going to be on the show, and how is this going to relate, and like they're just letting him do his thing and he just has to hand it over to them and he collects a check. Like that's the magic, right? But that's like the 0.001%
Yeah,
of
you're right. Yeah,
podcasters
exactly.
that get to do that. And so it's not impossible, just not necessarily the way that most people will. But again, like I would even go as far to say that if you're like a comedian and you're using your podcast and you're getting booked to do shows from that, like
Perfect.
I would consider that even somewhat from the show because it's so intertwined at that point of like, this is what I do. I do it all, like I do it 6 days a week. And I'm getting on stages because people are hearing it. Like it's a blurry line in some cases, but not in other cases.
But
right?
even Joe, that the podcast I'd like to start about having people talk about what they do that they're passionate about and why they do it, or what they'd like to do, is absolutely in line with my painting brand. I mean, if I worked for a company and it had nothing, no online presence or anything, it'd be really hard to carry a show like that. But that may be the first time I use a podcast as an extension of my business, which I never did before.
Right. So I and I think it's it's really a great excuse to like make relationships with people that you could go and paint their houses after the fact, right?
And that happens. I'm telling you, I've had some people that say, "Hey, I saw your." I mean, one guy called me today and he goes, I recorded a voicemail like a year ago, well, over a year ago. And I haven't listened to it yet. And the guy was like, "Wow, really nice, my radio voice. Hey," and then videos. It's always fun when people say, "Hey, I checked out and I saw your video." Someone shared a video. And by the way, one thing I'm very big on is I have to continue to differentiate myself, even if they don't think I'm different. Is if I meet someone that just maybe saw my business card or something, the first thing I say is, you got to go on Facebook or Instagram and troll my profile. You have to go online and know who I am, because it's so important. I want that to be something. Just go look at my work before you take my word for it. I want to make sure you know who I am, especially if they're going to welcome me in their home. I mean, knock on wood, my work has not slowed down since COVID hit. I wear masks inside. Some people are very open. Either they're not on the side of the house that I'm in. I keep my 6 feet. I wear gloves most of the time when I'm in there, or a ventilator when I'm spraying paint. Just the idea of them welcoming me into their house is a testament to the fact that I put it all out there. People know who I am. I'm not a mystery.
Yeah, there was I forget who it was telling me this story about how they were a vet that opened up their own, I want to say, lawn mowing service, and I can't remember the person who told me the story, but they were telling me like the reason that they were getting so many clients is because people felt comfortable with that they felt comfortable with the person being around the house and doing the lawn work and all that stuff. So that and especially when you're at allowing people to come into your house, like there's a lot that comes into that, right? So especially when they're going to be in your house for more than like an hour or whatever, and you're sitting right there, like, you know what I mean? It's not you're not unclogging a sink that takes 40, even if it takes 40 minutes, like the person's going to sit there and watch, be around you the whole time. Yeah. So that's that there's a big part of that, and I think that your marketing and your messaging plays into that to open up that trust factor, and I think having that show, I think, will definitely go a long way. I attribute a lot to the Dreamers podcast out of the gate and opening up those doors that I wouldn't have had access to before, and the know, like, and trust factor of even in MapCon, right? Like MapCon being run by this, like, I'm the make money faster, harder, stronger guy. Like, I only care, I only care about money. Get everything else, get out of here. Like, versus like, oh, it's run by a guy who like runs a show called Dreamers Podcast, and they talk about business and they talk about life and where the two intersect, and it just the optics of everything play into it. So yeah, I'll tell you, like I've struggled with like where to take my show and how that fits in, especially now that I do the Business Geeks podcast. I do this for podcasts.
Joe, you're the hardest working guy online, Joe. You're the hardest working guy online. I've never seen, I mean, for all of you watching and any of you listening, Joe is the hardest working person. And yet he never like, I mean, if you've ever met Joe, Joe is not a guy to gripe about how busy he is or tired he is, or it's unreal. The guy, I mean, you've done in the past 4 months what some people spend 5 years trying to do, and
I spent 5 years trying to do it.
But you do it now. It's the effort, like between your conferences and all this. I mean, you're a trendsetter and all that, and I hope people see that and outsiders understand that and start throwing you big giant bags of cash. Just
I will
do something with this, Joe.
I will take those bags of cash.
I just if I mean, everyone, the people that follow you or listening to the show already know that, Joe, that's what you do. I mean, that is what you do. I just unreal. I got to see the last 5 years of you doing what you do between the conference and your podcast and when you changed and conversations you and I had when I started my business and what you were doing and all that stuff and in your house and all this stuff. And the last time we hung out, it's awesome. I think it's awesome, Joe. You should every day, Joe, wake up, look in the mirror and pat yourself in the back and go, Joe, you did a great job today. I mean, you should, Joe. If you don't,
I think Melissa would be smacking me in the back of the head.
Joe, you should walk into it. She's about to close her eyes in bed, and you just look. She looks at you in the room and goes, "What are you doing, Joe?" And you just go like this, and you go like this. What are you doing? I did a great thing today. Like that. That's what you got to do, Joe. I'm telling you. And you should say, "Let me have my moment. Let me have my moment."
I do. That's listening to Kanye West in the shower. That's what.
Or you can do that. You can do that too, Joe. But I'm telling you, Joe, you're the real deal, man. Like, I mean, I watch what you do, and I do the just between your knowledge of tech and how you know how to do this and all that. It's awesome. I mean,
thank you.
But Joe is a testament to especially anyone who's new to podcasting or new to content creation. Joe is a testament to hard work equals results. One thing, if I could say about results, Joe, is when you think you launch a podcast and you were talking about your next conference is about monetizing your podcast. And when I started my podcast and I just wanted to share a story and then people would come up to me, can you make money from podcasting? And I'd share with them, this is how you do it. And they're like, well, do you make money from podcasting? I'm like, nope. And then the question would be, why do you spend all that time doing that? I don't think people set out. I don't think we're all greedy that we just set out saying this is a means to an end. But I truly believe deep down that anyone and all the folks I know in the podcast community between Lou and Clay, that hard work of sharing an authentic voice and sharing a story and connecting with a community has led to something that's either been monetized or put cash in their pocket or momentum to do other things that make them successful. And for you to, if anyone, I think, jumps into that, and I hope people that tune into your virtual conference, and I'll see if I can jump on and maybe share a few things.
Would love you to.
I haven't done. I've always, as an audience member, I've watched your past conferences. That when you listen to that, and please don't think that I want to get rich by producing a podcast. Because if you do that, you're doing nothing but setting yourself up for failure. You have to be smart about it, like any business. When I painted a house a year ago, all I did was want to make money because I didn't have a job. And I ended up loving doing it. And I met a realtor that had me paint his house which paint another house. And then I was like, wow, I could keep doing this. And then people called me. And then now my phone won't stop ringing, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. But I can't force anything. I have to let the world and the universe come to me, but continue to do every day when I'm there, hard work, just like Joe does, runs a conference. I go get on a ladder, paint a gutter, do it well, don't spill any paint, make sure I communicate with the customer, and eventually it leads to other things, and it snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. So that might be a topic for my conference speech.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Joe,
I would love it.
I think Joe was definitely a testament to how hard work pays off. And plus, Joe's an enormous likable guy,
Oh,
and
thank you.
I mean, Joe, come on. I mean, what are you doing? Like, you're the most likable guy ever. I've never seen. I mean, come
Oh,
on,
Jesus.
it's impossible. I think the first time I saw him, I'm like, can I help you? Can I help you set up your conference? Because I see you. I saw you online, and now I see you in person. Oh, I'm starstruck, which I was. I absolutely was. That was so funny.
Well, look, all right. So well, there's some comments coming in here. Joe Mara does a great job every day. Oh, thank you, Stacy. I appreciate that. I hear that Drew says, I hear that Joe is opening his house again for the next conference. Book your room now.
Heck
so
yeah.
In my house, the actual house is not open, but the backyard will be open. We will have outdoor porta potties and things like that. But I'm looking forward to doing it. Bringing 50 people to the house is a big. It's a big.
That's
deal.
a big deal. Yep.
And it's what it's what I'm able to do right now, and feel confident and safe in doing so, right? Because we'll have the space to spread out and all that. For anyone who doesn't know, because thanks Drew for softballing that up. For anyone who doesn't know, Icon 6 Live from the Backyard is happening September 12th, just outside of Philadelphia. It's limited to 50 live in-person tickets. There's unlimited live stream tickets, and they are actually, I need to update that because they are on sale now. I spent all day yesterday updating the website and pushing.
Joe, does that include the speakers too?
Yes. The 50 people. Yeah.
Yeah. That might cut it. Oh, that's a shame. That'll cut a lot.
Well, we're gonna do less speakers, so we're gonna do a slightly different format. It's one day. The speakers will probably speak for closer to 30, maybe 40 minutes. I got to look at how many speakers we get and how we fit in the schedule. I want more time for people to network because I feel like this type of event, especially because we need to social distance more, while we're there doing it. I feel like it'll be better spent if we slightly longer talks than normal. The normal format's 21 minutes for anyone who doesn't know. And then, so we'll expand that to about 30 to 40 minutes. And we're going to put breathing room in between because, people have to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. And I want it to be thing. But so live stream, you'll be able to buy a live stream ticket. If you can't make it, it's $25 right now. It's only $25. It's going up, I think, Tuesday or Monday. The date's on there. It'll be going up to like $50 and going up from there. But yeah, it's like the early bird, like the earliest bird. Like right now, tickets are $100. So if you wind up speaking, you'll get reimbursed 50% of that cost. Of the $100. So I wouldn't wait if you're thinking about buying a ticket. Like I would just kind of do it because I really do expect this to sell out before we get here in September. We can pitch some tents, Joe.
Camping in Joe's backyard.
Well, I don't know if that's what she's talking about, but yeah. So Stacy, no, that's right. It's not her friend. Who? Anyway. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Some people did ask it, like Raph asked about pitching a tent out in the backyard, and I don't think I have a problem with it. I don't know. I gotta find out what the event insurance will cover, how long that'll cover. But there's some space out in the back to do that, but there isn't like a ton of space. Like I can't have like 50 tents in the backyard, that's for sure. But I expect most people to be local, though there's some people that are like seriously thinking about driving from a pretty far distance to be here, which is incredible. I'm honored that they would do that. So to go back to what you were saying, Nick, about putting in the work and all that, like I remember when I was just getting started there, my neighbor across the street when she was live, would tell me the next day, she's like, oh, I saw you had another late night, 2 in the morning, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, because she'd get up to go to the bathroom and stuff, and could see that my office light was still on, and I'm like, yeah, I was just trying to get these episodes edited, and God, I wish I could get some of those hours back and all that editing that I did, but yeah, it's just LOL. Yes, it's what I was talking about. Anyway, Stacy, thanks for that. Yeah, so the work is there if you want to put the the effort in. When I got started, I thought I was going to do a sprint to like the cash, right? Like I saw the outline that John Lee Dumas did, like how he was bringing.
I didn't even know that existed until I went to your conference. I thought, no, it's just a bunch of. I was like, oh, this world is it's cool, man. And people just get to talk about what they like. You can listen to it for free. It's awesome. And then mind blown. My first MapCon in 16 or 15, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of people see it and they're just like, "Oh, it's just this thing." But like we as podcasters have to embrace so many different skills from web design. Unless we're paying people to do it, but if we're one man army, one woman army, one person army, we got web design under our belt. We got audio editing, we got audio recording, we have some maybe video, video capture. Like if you're using like a rig like this or. Then you're editing video on top of that, and you're bringing guests on, so you're learning how to book people. You're doing the social media thing, so you're learning how to get the social media set up and how not just like what to post, but literally just like how to get it out and then manage that. And marketing and like there's so many tools. So to me, it comes down when you're getting started. There's like there's two things you need to think about, right? Is this the marketing for the business? Or is this the business, right? And that's right there. If you just make that decision off the bat, it makes it really clear for like, okay, if this is the marketing for the business, what is the business? Hope you've already figured that out. Like, who's the avatar? Now you can take that avatar, plug it into the show. If it is the business itself, well, then you need to figure out a whole host of things like where's the money going to come from? How long do you have? What's the runway that you can just be like burning cash while you build up an audience, and what are you going to do to get in front of that audience? Are you niched enough to have an audience that matters? Are you going to go after sponsors? Who are those sponsors? Like, there's so many questions that you need to think about if this is the business. If this is your goal, then there's a ton of things you gotta figure out. Like, if it's the marketing, then that means you're making money in the business already. So that, or else you wouldn't be thinking about doing a marketing plan for it, right? Yeah. So then you have money to say, okay, well, we can take a little bit longer time. I can outsource some of the things. I can do this. I can do that. Go down these different options. There's all things that you need to think about if you're going to do that. So like, what I love that you've been able to take your love of podcasting, video, content creation, and openness, and plug that into your painting business. I mean, not many people would think like, oh, I do my lawn care service or I do my blah, blah, blah service. Like, and I do it with heart. Like that means a lot. And that's why like my smile gets so big when you're talking about about it, Nick, because I love people that are passionate. I love people that are doing the work. And Drew says he signed up for September. Good idea, Drew. I
got to do that. I'm glad you brought it up.
You know what that means? That means there's 49 tickets left.
Cool.
Look at that, right?
Well done, Drew.
Thank you so much, Drew. So Nick, what else? Before you go plug in all your stuff again, how people can get in touch with you, like what else is on your mind? Like what can people take away and think about when they're thinking about using their podcast for their business?
Don't look at it as like Joe just said, it's not a means to an end. I don't put videos and take the time to do a couple takes on a job site. And if I don't like it, I just simply share what I feel. And I think the best way to connect with people is share a little bit of yourself, because they in turn share a little bit of yourself. But if you go in with the mindset that I'm simply doing this to put more money in my pocket, you are wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong. I think my friend just turned me on to this great book that I'm reading called "The Money Is Not Yours," and I'm sorry I don't recall the author, but someone had recommended that to me like a year and a half ago when I lost my job in a quick networking luncheon at Starbucks. This woman had mentioned this book to me, and if you go into the mindset that Joe and I have been really harping on is hard work and all of yourself into something you like doing. Joe, you mentioned about how I found a way to use video into that, and it's fun because the painting is the easy part. The painting, just like podcasting, talking on a microphone is the easy part. Recording it, editing it, thinking about an outline, engaging your audience, engaging your guests. That's all hard work, but talking is easy. Painting for me is easy. It's finding a way to connect with my future customer is what excites me. That's fun. Finding out why they're bugged that they sit at their dining room and they look at this accent wall and they're like, why is this brown and the rest of the room is cream? And I just can't find the time to do this. Maybe I can call somebody, and I want to be the one swooping in saying, hey, listen, I get it. I understand when you obsess about something and you can't do anything about it. You don't have the time. Let me help you take care of that so you can not worry about it anymore. And I think, to me, that is the behind the scenes in that. So it's not about to make money. I do not paint houses to make money. Someone said to me, this was an interesting conversation, if I could share this with you, about 2 schools of thought about looking at the world. I was at a customer's house. He's a close friend of mine, but he's been amazing. He's been hiring me for the last year and a half or year. And he came down, and I'd stained something. He had cedar shingles on his house. I stained it, spent the whole day there. I didn't make a mess. Perfect. To toot my own horn. And thank you. I know you have a bell, but I don't have a horn. Yeah. I'll make my own sound effects. And
we could celebrate, like, no paint on anything, right?
All right, no paint on anything. Awesome. No drips. Hashtag no drips. And he came home from work, and he looked, and he says, Nick, I think it's a great job. I'm really happy with what you did. And I said, well, that's why I do it. Because if you're not happy with this, and it wouldn't be fun for me to do it. And it was interesting. I had this moment of just simply saying, I do this because it provides me fulfillment. And in turn, the result is you're fulfilled, and I get to put my head on the pillow knowing that I lived every moment today. And his response back was, and he works very, very hard, very, very hard. His response back was, but what about putting food on the table and paying your mortgage and paying your bills? And I kind of took a step back, and I'm like, I don't think that's why I do it. I think selfishly, I do it because I love doing it and I'm good at it. It just happens to be something that people will pay for. And in turn, the result is I get to pay my mortgage and pay my bills and put food on the table. That's just simply a result. So doing what you love to do, doing it well, because if you do something you love to do, you will do it well. And thinking a little bit, obviously, it's not like I might like digging ditches in my yard for worms because I like fishing and it's fun. Unless you can dig up 5-6 tons of worms a month and sell them to a local bait shop, that might not be the case. But if you find something you love and it's something that people will pay for and you do it well, it will just lead to monetary gain. And I just happened to fall into something and realized, and the irony is people would have paid me before. I just said no. I said, just give me a beer and a lunch. And now suddenly when I say, and that was tough. I don't know if people, and some of the challenging part is when you start asking for money, you want to make money from podcasting, but you have to go through the work of actually asking people for money. And that was difficult it's difficult for any entrepreneur, but it was even difficult for me. But once you get there, that hard work and that excitement and that content, and then I'm jumping right back into podcasting, people hear it in your voice, they hear you excited. Some of my best shows are the ones that I was flowing and I was just myself. And those are the most popular episodes that I have. So to leave everyone is, don't jump into it thinking you're going to get rich. Don't do that. There's a million other things you could do to get rich in podcasting. Like, what did you say with Joe Rogan? He's like 0.001.
Yeah.
That's not, trust me, that guy paid his dues and that's what he did.
Well, there's other people that have made, Hani Mora is a big, friend of the show, right? Brent Basham's friend of the show. They've made businesses around podcasting. Mark Asquith, exactly. Friend of the show. Like Todd Cochran, the list goes on and on. Where it wasn't in podcasting; it was around because of podcasting.
Exactly, it's the thing where, exactly to your point, right? It's thinking that I'm going to talk once a week and the cash is going to start rolling in. It just doesn't. It will never work that way. But I'm telling you, just like Joe does it, I do it, and all the people he just mentioned. Eventually, that hard work, people will see it, and people like giving their money to people that offer something to them. Especially something that they can't do or get themselves. So that's where I ended up, Joe. I'm going to just put you don't have the sound effect, but I added that in. I'm going to see how many sound effects I can get through your soundboard.
I don't know. I don't have enough.
Oh,
I have the sad trombone. I can
I like
beat you
that. Oh,
up.
that one's
Like-
awesome. That one's awesome.
the record,
I like that one too.
Scratch.
Keep going, Joe. Keep going.
Yeah.
That one's awesome.
We can play it. You know, when people are thinking.
All right, Jeff.
Glass breaking.
All right, you're just gonna go through all of them, Joe.
Yeah, why not? Why not? We could play the Super Joe Pardo.
That's awesome.
Intro, you know, like right, like.
Joe, this was fun, man. Thanks for having me on. This is like this is. I'm in a zone right now. I'm not going to go to sleep. You got me right back to where I used to be when I'm just about to end the show. What am I going to do?
That's exactly what we're trying to do here on the Indie Pod Daily Show. It is Brent's the man. Loved it.
Brent's the man. Brent is the man.
But I had a show for 2 years that didn't make jack. Yes, but you made so many friends and so many so many connections, and people are the currency in a lot of cases. This is the things that, you know, this is what really, to me, what matters is the relationships. That's the number one thing that I get out of this. If I didn't get the relationships, then I wouldn't want to come back to it constantly.
Yeah, me too. Right? I met you. I met an enormous amount of amazing people that I never would have met if I didn't just, look behind the curtain and say, what is this whole podcasting thing all about? It's the most amazing thing in the world. So always know this, whether or not you fill in your pockets or not, because of podcasting, you're going to, if you do it authentically,
fill the heart.
Yeah, you will definitely build some. I have lifelong relationships with people all across the country that I never would have met if I hadn't just went, hi, this is Nick, the Dependent Independent Podcast. Never.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why I have friends literally all over the world, like friends in Nigeria, friends in Australia, friends in Britain, friends in Sweden. Like I got friends literally all over this planet, and it's all thanks to pod. I mean, I had friends somewhat over the across the planet before that, but really now it's all over the planet. Thank you for podcasting, Joe Pardo. All right, so how can people connect with you? How can people hire you? I know I got to get you in here to paint at some point once I decide the room and how everything's going to shake,
I will make the time, Joe. I will make the time. So if you are, and I still host the podcast online, if you'd like to hear an interesting story about someone who decided to make friends by starting a podcast and sharing his entire life on the interwebs. It's called the Dependent Independent Podcast. Obviously, you can find it anywhere you listen to your own podcasts. Some of those podcasts were recorded live in my studio downstairs in the basement, and my solo shows in this office a while back. That's the Dependent Independent Podcast YouTube channel. But if you are someone who's looking for something a little different from a house painter, you can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook at iHeartPaintingNJ, where you can see some of my work, my before and after, some of my soulful tidbits of sharing that I put on there. Some of the posts are a little mindful, some of the posts are a little spiritual, and then my Paint for Thoughts, which I figure out a way to connect the life that we live every day with simply the job of painting on a ladder. And those are a lot of fun. So you guys can follow me. And if you're in the South Jersey area, feel free to call me at 609-515-6374. That's my cell. You can call me, or obviously all my contact information is on Google. You can find me on Google as well. The first time I ever outsourced in 6 years, I'm actually working with a web designer. I still have to finish tonight my About Me page and share a little bit on that. But
I was just about to say, your page is looking
it's under construction
there.
Yeah, it's under construction. So yeah, I'm a web designer, and the only thing I would like a little different is they'd manage me a little bit more, because I need someone to chase me down. So they actually reached out to me today. I'm going to get my About Me and get my images up there. So, but again, my website is not how I find business. It's all with referrals. So again, in the South Jersey area, Atlantic County, Gloucester County, any of this area, if you know anyone who's looking for a painter and is trying to just get the energy to do a job that they hate doing, I will, for a fair price, I will, and I will provide good quality service and a good quality product. Feel free to reach out to me. Because by the way, you're only giving me a gift, because I love doing it every day. I don't lose any sleep. Tomorrow, I get to pick what I want to paint tomorrow, which is so amazing. So that's my life now. Every day, every single day.
I love it, Nick. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the work that you're putting in, and the love that you're bringing to the world is awesome. Thank
you, Joe.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being on the show.
You got it, bro.
Brent says this is a service and a smile.
Yeah, you got to smile.
Said it's the site's being painted. It is. And Stacy says Nick G's IG is fabulous.
I do like Instagram.
Hey, there you go. I would love to have a few rooms painted. We can live stream it. Yes, I think that's a good idea, Drew. Reach out to Nick, please.
Drew. Whoa, Drew's got a good point. Drew, I'm doing that, bro. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna live stream painting a room. Nice. Thank you, Drew.
There you go.
That's perfect content. I didn't even think about that. That'd be so weird, right? Who does that? The whole thing and talk you through the whole thing. Oh, that'd be so awesome.
Yeah, well, because they're still not going to want to do it even after they watch it.
Unless I'm like, and I start. I can't look like I'm having fun. Oh, my back. Oh, my arms. Throwing a paintbrush in the air. Look at me. Drew, that was awesome. Great idea. Now you got my gears moving.
Put some
my gears are moving.
Sound music on, and then you can you don't have to worry about it taking down because you just have the music playing in the background.
Play the girl from Ipanema in the back. Oh, that'd be great. Oh, that's so good. Drew, you nailed it.
Drew is great like that. And Drew, thank you for being the first person to buy a ticket to Icon 6 live in the backyard, September 12th. Limited to 50 live in-person tickets and unlimited live stream tickets on sale. I just got to update that again. Darn it. Live or on sale right now over at indiepodcasters.com/icon6. Looking forward to that. Join us June 27th. Monetize Your Podcast, where hopefully Nick G will be joining us and a lineup of speakers to talk about monetizing your podcast. I'm really looking forward to that as well. Stacy says, you live streaming painting, I will post that on my social. Well, it's a positive thing. It's better than what most people are posting to social these days, or even really any days in the last 5 to 8 years. We are still looking for speakers for June 27th. So if you're interested in speaking, go to indiepodcasters.com/vspeaker. We're also looking for speakers over for Icon 6 live from the backyard. So you can go check that out over at /icon6 to get the speaker spot for that. Oh, thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate that. And this episode is brought to you by IndiePod University. We have opened up our doors, our archives to every Icon and MapCon event video ever. That's over 100 hours of video. That includes podcasting educational videos, social media marketing, audience growth, monetization ideas, inspirational talks to help you keep from pod fading, and so much more. And the video content is growing literally daily because these videos that you're watching every single day here in the Facebook group are going into the archive over at indiepoduniversity.com. You can get indiepoduniversity.com for $9.99 a month or $99 a year. And you get a you get a free 7-day trial when you sign up. This episode is also brought to you by faithcasters.net. If you're a Christian podcaster or a podcaster who has an audience in the Christian niche, there is a podcasting platform for you. They do podcast hosting and marketing. They do marketing as well, designed exclusively by Christian podcasters for Christian podcasters. Go to faithcasters.net and check it out. If you want to sponsor an episode of the Indie Pod Daily Show, you can do so by reaching out to me at joe@indiepodcon.com. Let me see here. Nick is getting archived. He is getting archived. I don't have a book slam, but we'll just do something.
Do that slap again.
Yeah, right. Push him in the book. Close that book. Everyone, I hope you and your families are all staying safe. I will see you tomorrow, where we have a guest on for Training Thursday, where our guest will be sitting down in the podcasting hot seat with me. It's Meg. I should have asked how to say her name. Glessner. I'm really bad at this name thing.
That's Joe.
Yeah, so she is coming on. We're going to talk about all of her podcasting efforts here on the Indie Pod Daily. We will diagnose what she's doing, what she could be doing better, and I can give her advice from there live here in the group and on the Indie Pod Facebook page. Looking forward to that. On Friday is Figure It Out Friday, where I will go live probably in the early afternoon or at like 1 o'clock. I haven't scheduled it just yet. And I will be talking about like everything that we talked about over the course of the week, giving some follow-up, and then answering your questions with my answers. So if you got a podcasting question, bring it on Friday, right? And on Saturday will be Scholarship Saturday, so you can go and learn about. This week we're going to talk about why you need to wear headphones when you're podcasting. Not everybody understands why, Nick. We're going to talk about it because it's Scholarship Saturday, where we talk about newbie tactics and tips and tricks for newbie podcasters. Brent says, great to see you, Nick. Keep it real, my man. Well, he absolutely is.
Come on,
everybody, you are a podcaster. You are a leader of your community, and I want you to think about leading with love. I will see you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I had to pull it up and look at it. There's so many things I got to say. All right, everybody. Have a great night.